I call this meeting to order of the Police and Fire Advisory Committee on February 25th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. Why don't each of the members just introduce themselves so people know who we are. You don't need to go into any kind of an autobiography or anything.
I certainly won't. Craig Emanuel, Ward 1. My wife and I have owned the house since 1990, and her family's been in town since the late 30s. And
Cool.
it's a pleasure to be on the board.
I'm Bill McNabb. I live in Ward 3. I've lived in all 3 wards.
Tom Patterson, Ward 1.
Bill Crow, Ward 2.
Okay. The mayor got an email from the chair of the committee explaining that he went to California to visit friends, got a job, and isn't coming back. So he's resigned, and I'll take the responsibility. Philip Martinez. I'll take the responsibility for forgetting to tell Joel that we can't do anything that's not on the agenda. So we can't elect a new chair until we put it on the agenda that we're going to elect a new chair. The other thing is, we typically, committees like this don't have on the agenda a call to the public, but if there's anybody that would like to speak, we can listen to them now. Has everybody that approached you?
I have not been approached.
Are any of you interested in speaking?
Not yet.
You can
Not
see.
yet.
See, you know, that's always the problem with the call of the public. They usually have it before they do anything. And so by the end of the meeting, everybody's like, and can't do anything about it, you know? So we gotta wait a month with us, so. We've had a good relationship with the police and fire department. We had a number of great presentations last year, and right now it's a matter of just reacting to what the public is looking for. We hope we get more input. Typically, both chiefs are here. We've got Johnny Giacomino from the council, so this is a standing committee of the Bisbee City, and so you have a chance to put valuable input into how the city is run, especially with police and fire. There he is. Hey, Chief.
Sorry, like this.
We just started. And being that I've been talking, you know you didn't miss anything. So. All right, so the first thing on the meeting, discussion and possible approval of the minutes of the meeting. Okay, the minutes are attached to your agenda. This is the last meeting we had at the end of the year. If you want to look over it quickly. With 2 Williams, Joelle was a little concerned about whether she got the right William on the motions. But I don't think there's any political significance to,
I'll just defer to him tonight. Okay?
okay, we'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion second.
Okay, we have a motion. Anybody opposed? Okay, passed by acclamation. Okay, discussion neighborhood watch. We had, Joey, we had a great presentation on neighborhood watch by the police department. And where it is present in the community, it is also done well and met the needs of the different neighborhoods that have gone forward with that. But we're getting more and more input on neighborhood watch, Chief. And so somehow or another we need to work out a mechanism where people that feel their neighborhood needs a neighborhood watch, because we know that it's not like you guys are overstaffed or anything. But what do you think?
Should I speak into a microphone for the recording?
There's an extra one here.
I can follow this one out. So, Neighborhood Watch, we're in the same status as we were when we started talking about this 2 years ago. We're still 3 people down. We have a very, very new police force. So currently, the current status of Neighborhood Watch as far as the police department, we will advise those neighbors who want to establish one, those people who want to build a Neighborhood Watch. But that's going to fall on them as establishing that and getting that started. The Warren neighborhood recently started one with Kay, and she took that on and has been doing things over there and got that up and going. She does meet with the police department. We have discussed some things, but our involvement with that is minimal. Short of, we provide the information we used in our platform for our Neighborhood Watch, the program that we established, but those aren't, that we tailor-made that to fit us. That's by no means the only way or the way it has to be done. There's some, we didn't send anybody to training to learn how to do Neighborhood Watches or anything like that. We, Deputy Chief Long took that upon himself and built that program and made it what it was when we had it. We have the ability to do that. So the stance of the police department is that if somebody wants to establish one, we can give them some direction, if you will, but it's going to fall on those communities within Bisbee to do that themselves.
Well, my understanding, the first time I ran into this, which was years ago, is the whole purpose of Neighborhood Watch is to keep our neighborhoods safer without putting an extra burden on the police department. I mean, it actually allows you to be where you need to be while we take on the responsibility of looking out for our neighborhood and looking out for our neighbors. So by default, that's the way we're gonna have to do it. And it sounds, and the one you set up has worked out okay?
Yes. Our first meeting, we had about 70 people.
Wow.
Last week, we had about 40. And then we're working very closely with Saginaw Neighborhood Watch. They've been up and running for, I think they've had 7 meetings. And then I'm trying to work with Peter Maya over there in Bakerville to get that Neighborhood Watch up and running.
Thank you.
I have a question. Hey Chief, I'm sure you're probably aware of these Ring doorbell neighborhood watches?
Yes.
And I understand police departments in some places are encouraging that. Do you guys have a position on that?
So I will not endorse any particular product, but I will say that Ring has been very useful. I can tell you that some of my officers have Ring themselves personally on their homes, and it's kind of funny because one time we had 2 officers live right next door to each other, and you could tell when somebody drove down their street because one phone would go off, and a very short time later the other one would go off. You could tell they were getting notification on their Ring. Simple steps like that I think are important to protect one's property and also to provide the evidence that we need in the event that something does happen. Now we have actual footage that we could rely on to build the case or to prosecute.
There was another, do you remember the other one they mentioned at the meeting?
The other what?
Brand, there was another.
Oh, there's several brands.
Yeah, they mentioned 2 or 3.
Blink, Simply Safe,
Yeah.
I've got Wise, I mean, there's
Yeah, I think
a
just the
whole
ones that
slew
they
of
brought
them
up,
out
so
there.
there's been a few mentioned at our Neighborhood Watch.
Do you know if any of the citizens in the community are taking part of this?
Yeah, some people I know
Yeah.
have it, yeah, just like he says, they've taken it before Neighborhood Watch, and other people are talking, like, I bought cameras, I don't do the Ring because I don't want them up on my porch. Mine is more out for my perimeter, but that's just me.
Is there any kind of, I don't know, list or whatever of neighbors that have that capability? Do you keep that information, or?
We're not provided that information. By all means, I think, Joey and I have talked about that a few times. And we've even considered just driving around, hitting every street and marking who's got a visible camera and who doesn't. just for the event of, we have a burglary in the area. We know that, we can look at a map and see where those cameras are at and know that we can go to these people to see avenues of approach or escape, and possibly find footage that way. We know of some cameras, just because we've dealt with people, for previous calls, and we've reached out to them in the past to see, if they picked anything up on their camera for something that happened in their area. Sometimes it's been successful and sometimes it hasn't, but we don't have that database as of yet.
Okay, so that leads to my question, if there was some organized way of offering the public that ability to register their camera or give it to the police department as being available, would that be helpful?
Honestly, I think it would, because I don't have to then rely on going and knocking on somebody's door. I could have a phone call associated with that property and actually call somebody, or have the case officer reach out to that person. So, yeah, if the public's willing to share that, we'd definitely be interested.
What would be the best mechanism to do that?
To be honest with you, I haven't thought about that from that standpoint, so I don't have an answer for that as of right now.
Okay.
It would require, I'd have to talk to my records staff and see if they can handle that, taking on that burden of, people calling in and putting their name and just starting with, I think, just a basic Excel spreadsheet with the address and the telephone number.
I think if you had that information, this is my opinion, and could able to create a database that shows that on a map, it would be helpful. I think we're gonna see an increase in that capability as opposed to any kind of a decrease over time, because it becomes cheaper and cheaper for people to do that.
I agree.
So I would encourage the police department to take that on as a tasker, and maybe, at our next meeting, report back to see, if you've made any headway on that.
Well, I don't want you to get too far off topic
Mhm.
on your agenda.
Well, I'm saying that's part of Neighborhood
Right.
Watch, so.
Yes, and that would be something, I'm just protecting the chief, because creating a new spreadsheet,
Well,
his department has lots to do.
Yeah,
Neighborhood watch groups could, collect the data.
And I
Yeah.
think Kay is over here gonna
Okay,
try to
and
say
provide
that.
it. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
and
I keep seeing her hand go.
Yeah, so we'll let the neighborhood watch groups.
Yeah, and I think that if people wanna supply that information to the police department for their use, that's fine. But we've gotta make sure we don't publish anything, because I think we could get into some real civil rights issues if we start publishing where there's Ring doorbells, and I think you would probably see right after that all the crime would be in other places.
I just see that there needs to be a way for people to voluntarily provide that information.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good
That could be a
idea.
useful tool, and they don't even have to be necessarily the one to collect the data,
Right,
but.
Exactly.
But all information that's provided to Neighborhood Watch, it was made perfectly clear that it's confidential and will not be released, and jokingly sold.
Thank you, Joni.
Yeah, I was like, she was up, because that was one of the big issues that did come up in our Neighborhood Watch.
And that is a, we would not willingly publish that information, but just about anything that goes on in the police department is a matter of public record. So if somebody requested that, and that was a document that we produce and have and maintain, then that information, through public records request or through court order could be released. Hence the thought of driving around and actually trying to see them versus somebody disclosing that information. Because, there are some people out there, we've come across them, who do have cameras posted that aren't hooked up. They use it as a visible deterrent, if you will. Us documenting that there is one doesn't necessarily say that it's working or that they're providing it. But
Some people use dummy cameras.
yes, exactly. So, if that's something people are willing to share and knowing that they're providing to the police department through Neighborhood Watch, I wouldn't have an issue with that, and I would welcome it.
Being that we're dealing with a staff shortage right now, is it possible that the police department could put together just a brief steps in getting Neighborhood Watch going that could be supplied to neighborhoods that want to get going, let them know that it's something they'll have to do on their own, but give them some direction in writing that allows them to go the right way.
So right now, like when Kay came in and said she wanted to get this going, she came in and she sat down and met with me and we discussed it. I gave her copies of everything that we had and had done up to that point. So we gave them everything. And we would do that for anybody else that wanted to start a meeting. Nothing we have is proprietary by any means. And we're, you know, again, this was a program that Deputy Chief Long somewhat tailor-made to work for Bisbee, and it worked well for a number of years. If somebody wanted to go a different direction with it, that'd be fine. The one thing we try to specify with Neighborhood Watch is the idea isn't to make a vigilante group or you know, citizens on patrol. It's more intended to bring communities together and network with each other, look out for one another, and report those things that they see.
One of the things that helped, and that was discussed in our neighborhood watch, was going to other neighborhood watches and going in. I think that was one of the things they brought up, and that was helpful, talking to the other neighborhood watch, and was it Saginaw's the one
Saginaw.
they were very successful right now.
And that would be the easier thing, I think, even from the police department standpoint. You know, we reached out, or I say we, our ward reached out, and Kay and Rachel actually attended Saginaw's neighborhood watch, and got talked to Chuck and got some pointers, you know, some ideas from him as we were starting ours up, and then he attended our last meeting. So I think that's good that we're collaborating in that way.
Cool, thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, Assistant Chief, for all your efforts.
You're welcome, thank you.
Okay, so we'll just, anybody that calls to the neighborhood watch, we can give them the chief's cell number. I think I heard
Wait
it
a
say.
minute, I don't even have a chief.
All right, thank you very much. Discussion noise complaints. We had a discussion about barking dogs, which is kind of in the whole noise complaint over thing. How's it been?
It's been a lot better where I live, and I can't speak for everybody, but I haven't heard as many complaints as I used to, but.
Well, we do have an animal control officer on duty now, right?
But,
Uh,
go ahead.
Yeah, 19 and a half hours a week. If you have any concerns specific to the regulation of animal noise, your committee should make a recommendation directly to that animal ordinance ad hoc committee for consideration as they make their recommendations to the council.
And our next meeting is the 16th of March.
Is the ad hoc feral cat committee or whatever?
That's
Animal
everything.
ordinance.
Oh, animal ordinance.
Ordinance ad hoc committee,
I
and
was
they
gonna
are
ask if that was recently created as a
Yes.
result of all the.
Yes.
Animal
of
control.
changes to the animal ordinance.
What's the date again?
March 16th is our next meeting.
Meeting. So if you have recommendations to them regarding animal noises, it would be appropriate to make that.
Well, I've said I would serve on that committee. I don't know. It's just an ad hoc committee, so.
Yes, and I think
But
it
you can-
does have a full,
Yeah, I
Yeah, but
don't
you can
care.
still come to the general public
Yeah, I
and
mean, it's
voice.
not, when they came
Mhm.
for the city, I don't think I've seen that many people at a city council planning meeting. I mean, we had a lot of people here. So it's obviously an issue of concern. Chief, not, you know, taking away the animal part, what happened last time was the police department supplied us a list of every single animal noise complaint they've got, or animal complaint. And when we distilled it all down, there were like 3, maybe 4 places that all the complaints were coming from. There were miscellaneous ones here and there, but there was a definite trend. You keep the same data on general noise complaints?
So the data that is, in that instance, we compile that data per the request. I can tell you right now, you know, the city's going through changes with the noise ordinance as we speak. It's being
Yeah.
nuisance ordinance that's being debated with mayor and council as we speak. So there's changes coming to that. in regards to the animal complaints themselves, the barking dogs, a lot of that, the corrections, if you will, the fixes, our ACO, D, she's doing a really good job, and she's very busy. And I would say that if people have concerns, over those animals, to call the police department, and make a report.
Anybody else got any comments? Thank you. Okay, we talked about, one of the things we do is look at the goals, what we'd like to accomplish this year. I think we discussed a couple of them already. There's nothing, I get more calls on noise problems than probably anything else. But Neighborhood Watch has seemed to be very successful in Bisbee, so I want to continue to support that. I would like us to take a look at this whole issue of police and fire compensation, how we stand with other communities, and is there anything that we can do to assist in getting more officers on the street? Obviously, finding a way that the city can create more income would be one way, and I've got some ideas on that, but I'll have to put that on the agenda for next year. Anything else you guys want to take a look at?
Those are two pretty big items.
Yeah, it's gonna take up a lot of what we're doing.
We will be able to supply you with an update on fire rates for ambulance
Okay.
responses.
You will be able to provide us with that? You
Yes,
just kind of
we've made
bring it along with
the city has made a request to the state to increase our ability to bill per call
Cool.
for ambulance calls. The fire department is working on an agreement with Arizona Ambulance that could change the way that our fire department responds to calls for service. So we could keep you up to date on that as well.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to see us look at parking. We had a parking study done by the U of A, and it's on our city webpage, and it was exploring where to park and how to gain revenue from parking. And I thought it was an interesting beginning, but by no means was it the end of the study. And I think that would be an appropriate topic for this committee.
That will be a topic taken up by the Planning Commission,
Okay.
and we can certainly report back to you on the steps taken by the Planning Commission.
Yeah, we discussed, a couple of meetings ago, handicap parking. And it was interesting because when the chief gave us the criteria for a parking place to qualify as a handicap parking place, you gotta have the right kind of sign, it's gotta be the right kind of height, and a lot of places just put up a little sign on an A-frame and stick it on the sidewalk, and that doesn't meet the needs. Nobody's gonna get cited for that. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to have that feedback from planning.
Can do that. I know they're looking at hiring an independent consultant to help them compile 3 studies that have been completed. And come back with a plan.
Three independent studies. Getting a plan out of one study is hard enough, so we got 3 of them.
Yeah.
Huh? Good luck on that one.
Yes. I think we have a consultant identified.
Bill, you got any other issues you think of? We can take up anything as long as we get it to Joel within the time that's necessary, which is what, 24 hours before? You'd appreciate a little more time?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
okay, we'll give you 25.
Thank you.
No, you know, if
Yeah.
you want something on the agenda, somebody calls you, and then any one of us, any member of the committee can put it on the agenda. But you need to go through.
Yeah, I'll just, maybe this would just be a point of clarification for committee members. 4.6.7, powers and duties generally of the committee, item B. The committee shall advise and consult through its chairperson with the city manager as to the items or matters to be included on any committee agenda prior to the preparation and distribution of the agenda. So if you get a call, because right now there are only 4 of you, you could call your chairman directly, but you shouldn't talk to any of the other members about any items that are brought to your attention. And then your chairman certainly should feel free to reach out to me about being prepared to address any items that come onto your agenda.
That's fine.
Okay.
We got 5 members, so there's just one not here.
Okay, thank you.
But we need more members if there's.
Yeah.
A couple of items.
Yes, sir.
For me, I'd like to get an update on Firewise, see where we are with that. I know Old Bisbee has an active Firewise program going on. There's some level of interest maybe in the Warren District, but I don't know where we are overall with that. But I think it would be good for the committee to better understand that program. The other one, reference Neighborhood Watch, would be signage and lighting issues, because there are some Neighborhood Watch signs. I personally don't think they're extremely effective where they're located, but maybe we could discuss that a little bit, as well as lighting. And the selection of the new chairman.
I've got to put the chair on you. That'll be in number 5, upcoming agenda. We're actually looking at our goals for the whole year.
Okay, yeah.
One of my main goals is to at least have 4 meetings where we have a quorum. I gotta tell you, my whole first year on this committee, I don't think we had a quorum but once. And so we've been able to attract some incredible people with a lot more experience I know than I have. And so you've got a real good mix of people who understand the system from both sides. And we've been real fortunate that the police and fire supported the committee as well. Okay, so for the very next meeting, we want to put on,
Mr. Patterson,
yeah,
on the action agenda that we approved on number 9, discussion of future agendas, there was a notation in regards to signs on the Vista that was to be taken directly to Public Works. So
Okay.
in regards to the sign issue, whether or not that was tabled to go to Public Works, or if we want to keep that on there, I just wanted to point out that was on the action agenda.
you know, we at least need a report back from Public Works.
Okay.
So that can go on the next agenda.
Okay.
So we'll have the election of chair, signage. Anything else? Do we want to carry noise complaints over and have the availability of discussing that at almost any meeting?
You just need to keep up with it.
Yeah. The city is working really hard to avoid any violations of the open meeting law. And it is so easy to do. And many times it doesn't seem like it makes sense when we're sitting here and there's people 10 feet away from us that we can't take up other issues, but that's just the way it is. And the meetings run smoothly. Just so you know, if you do violate the open meeting law, the person who gets fined is the individual, and you cannot be reimbursed by the city, so. And you know, I think I'll put the open meeting law on the next agenda. do you have anything that kind of summarizes?
Yes, we can get you 3 really good resources that are available to committees.
Anything else?
I don't know where they are with their investigation, if it's complete or whatever, but the recent fires up in Old Bisbee where we lost a couple of structures, if we could get just a report back from the fire department on that, maybe if they determined a cause or whatever, that we could share with the public.
Yeah, let's put that on the agenda for sure.
That's all.
All right. Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second motion.
Okay. Any objection? Okay, so, next meeting, we'll, just know that we'll have let's put a formal call to the public on our agenda, but we'll have that. Appreciate you being here.